Welcome back. This is Brendan Lee from theBrendanLee.com in support of consciousness and skill worldwide. This video is a short video. I don't know if it'll be short yet, but what I want to talk to you about here in this video is an insight I had once regarding women and what I consider to be the female experience. So take what you will from this, and if there are any women watching this video, I'm curious to know your experience and perspective regarding what I'm about to say. I'm wide open to that. Love to hear from you and see what's up. This realization came to me when I was at an outdoor music festival. I was at an outdoor music festival near Houston, Texas, supporting Cheng Shin. I made like a whole tent and things like that, and I was promoting it, and there's a woman there with me, and when I was there, I had this breakthrough occurred that was a little bit, it was interesting. And the background of the story was, long story short, for some reason, the woman I was with, she was upset with me, and she was expressing to me her anger, her upset, and getting that across to me, and instead of listening to it like I normally would and then just reacting to what's being said, I really, in this case, tried to my best to just get her experience. Like, I was having reactions about what she said, and I was like, nope, fuck the reactions, screw that. I'm just going to get her experience. And I was like really, really, really focused over there. And then all of a sudden, boom, it hit me. Something happened where I got this experience of like, holy crap, all of a sudden I could feel everything. Like, everything was a feeling. I could feel the people around me. I could feel her. I could feel her thinking. I could feel what people around me were thinking. I could feel my entire environment, and like everything was this massive flood of feelings, and this, like, everything was a feeling. And along with the realization at that time, so I had like a little insight and a drastic change of state. I was like, oh my God, I can feel everything. Like, so as soon as I could, I'm like, shut it down. That's just too much feeling. That's what I would say about it. It's like, holy shit, it's too much. It's way too much feeling. And commensurate with that experience, I had a thought about it, which was like, no wonder, I'm going to say this, but please don't take it the wrong way. It's no wonder y'all are crazy, or no wonder y'all get overwhelmed by feelings, because there's just too much happening all at once. So it's hard to sort things out. And so I will, and sometimes, and I've told this story many times, sometimes when I'm speaking with women, I will tell them, hey, I know what it's like to be a woman. And I was later corrected or invited to think further on the matter. It's like, okay, I may have had an insight about the female experience, but I don't live that way. I don't live my entire life that way. So perhaps it's more accurate to say I had a glimpse into another world that I would call the more female experience. Now, for sake of telling as much of the truth as I can't say that all women have this experience, but I bet that experience is, close to, or generally speaking, what most women deal with on a daily basis. So the message here, or perhaps the value that I can contribute here, is, speaking to men. When I talk to men, and then they may, bring up, or, friends of mine or acquaintances, and they're talking about their woman problems. One of the things that I would strongly urge men to understand about women is that they don't experience the world the same way you do. Now, I know you think that you know how they think and what they feel and all that stuff, but if my experience is accurate, or even close to accurate, it was drastically different. Everything was felt. Everything was a feeling. It was like an emotional hodgepodge everywhere. And, men, we don't live that way. So when you are, I don't necessarily want to tell you how to live. So in this case, it's just an invitation that if you are speaking with a loved one or speaking with a woman and then she's having reactions or emotional dispositions that you don't understand, it's useful to hold some space and remember that her experience is not the same. Like, you're not looking at the same world. The stuff that she finds important is going to be different than the stuff that you find important, and vice versa. And there's a lot, as far as I can tell, there's a lot more feeling that's going on over there. Like a lot. Like times a million a lot. Like you don't even know how much. It's crazy. It's literally, for me, way too much. Like I said, I shut it down as quickly as possible. I'm like, this is too much. And on the flip side, an invitation to women out there who maybe, with a man or not understanding, it's like, remember, we don't see the world the same way you do either. And there are sensitivities that you have that we don't have, or we don't find those important at all. So when you are dealing with men, please try to get that we don't live in the same world you do. And we literally don't. Different experience. Like stuff that's important to women is not the same as what's important to men for the most part. I'm sure there's some overlap and then some outliers. So I'm just generalizing here. But for the sake of communication, I think it is vitally important to remember that when you're communicating, you need to get the other's experience, not your own experience. And that can be very challenging to do. I know from my own experience. Sometimes I suck at that. Very often I find myself sucking at that, or I experience blame in relationship to the other, where it's like, well, why can't you see, this is my blame. Why don't you communicate your experience better? See, that's my problem. Okay, so that's something I want to contribute in the domain of relationship and or understanding each other, or being able to communicate with each other, and invite you toward an openness regarding other people's experience, that it can be like, and I'm not talking about differences. It can be different. And I am not talking about just like a difference of, oh, well, they see it differently. It's like, no, their whole world is different. Like the whole world is different, not just like one thing or another thing, but like a whole world. And it's useful to acknowledge that and to hold some space for that, so that you can allow for a whole different, like, it's like a whole different creature over there. Like, what's going on over there? I don't even know. And one last thing that I would share with women, like when I'm trying to communicate to women what it's like being a man, it's one aspect, and again, this is, I'm sure, much more complex than I'm making it out to be here, that I would tell women, like, look, all that feeling stuff, like everything's feeling. Imagine a world that just doesn't have that. And that's more like my world. It's a lot less of that. Everything is like bombarding me and it's all in my body, like everywhere. No, it's not so much like that. Now, granted, I'm not saying that men don't feel. We feel a lot. It's just in a different domain. That's all. And sometimes it's in a domain that as far as I can tell, other people don't recognize, or women perhaps wouldn't recognize the domain, because it's just not something that's important. But no, everybody feels. Everybody has emotions. We run off of emotions. We don't run off of rational thinking, really. Or if we do, it takes a serious discipline to override the emotional aspect and or stop doing it. So there you go. There's some stuff about experiencing my experience of some of the differences between men and women. And again, this is generalizing, so I'm sure there are specifics and or outlying or different circumstances where this may not apply. But generally speaking, I thought this would be useful to communicate, and definitely useful for men out there, and also for women who are trying to understand something about men. Thank you. Take care.